What if I told you that the wisiest man who ever lived, the king blessed with divine wisdom, wealth beyond imagination, and absolute power, ended his life not in triumph, but in deep regret and spiritual ruin? How could a man who possessed everything, who walked so closely with God, descend into such despair? Solomon, the son of David, was chosen by God to rule Israel, endowed with wisdom unlike any other before or after him. He built the magnificent temple of the Lord, penned thousands of proverbs, and reigned as the most powerful king of his era. Yet, in his final days he cried out in anguish, "Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless." Ecclesiastes 1:2. How did the greatest king of Israel, once exalted in glory, fall so far? This is the untold story of Solomon's last day, a day of profound reflection, piercing regret, and the harrowing realization that all his achievements were hollow without God. And more importantly, what does his journey mean for us today? Stay with me, for the lessons from Solomon's life may hold the key to avoiding the same spiritual downfall that befell Israel's greatest king. Solomon's journey began with extraordinary promise. As the son of David, a man after God's own heart, Solomon was anointed king soon after his father's passing, stepping into a role laden with immense responsibility in a realm rife with political intrigue and strife. Yet instead of demanding wealth, power, or personal glory, Solomon made a humble plea that would define his legacy. "Give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil." 1 Kings 3:9. This request was not merely for his own benefit, but a heartfelt commitment to the welfare of his nation, reflecting a profound sense of duty and humility rarely seen in rulers of such stature. Moved by Solomon's sincerity, God granted him unparalleled wisdom, a gift that became the cornerstone of his reign. With this divine insight, Solomon's judgments were marked by fairness and clarity, earning him respect not only within Israel, but far beyond its borders. His wisdom helped to resolve conflicts, mend divisions, and bring prosperity to his people, and soon tales of his extraordinary discernment spread across nations. One of the most notable events in Solomon's early reign was the visit of the illustrious Queen of Sheba. Renowned for her own intellect and curiosity, she journeyed from a distant land to test Solomon with challenging questions. What she discovered left her in awe. She declared, "Not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth, you have far exceeded the report I heard." 1 Kings 10:7. Her visit became a symbol of the far-reaching impact of Solomon's wisdom, bridging cultures and affirming the universal appeal of a ruler who prioritized understanding over conquest. Under Solomon's leadership, Israel experienced an era of unprecedented prosperity and cultural flourishing. The kingdom blossomed with opulent palaces adorned in gold, silver, and precious stones, and vibrant trade networks emerged as merchants from every nation sought his counsel, bearing exotic gifts and treasures. Solomon's court became a thriving center of intellectual exchange, where poets, philosophers, and scholars gathered to study his proverbs and songs, writings that continue to serve as timeless guides for righteous living. Beyond these grand achievements, Solomon instituted fair legal practices and reformed governance, ensuring that justice was accessible to both the noble and the commoner. His capacity to resolve disputes with divine insight and his commitment to upholding moral principles set a standard for leadership that resonated deeply with his people. Even as his kingdom grew richer in wealth and culture, Solomon remained ever mindful that his true treasure lay not in material abundance, but in the wisdom granted by God. In every decision and every act of governance, he strove to balance power with humility and wealth with righteousness. His reign, celebrated for its brilliance and prosperity, ultimately hinged on this divine wisdom, a beacon that illuminated not only the corridors of his palace, but also the hearts of his people. Among all his achievements, the construction of the Temple of the Lord stood as the crowning glory of his rule, a lasting symbol of his devotion and a testament to the divine favor that had elevated him above all others. The Temple of Solomon stood as the crowning achievement of his reign, a breathtaking masterpiece of divine craftsmanship that not only showcased the unparalleled wealth and artistic brilliance of Israel, but also served as a living testament to the profound relationship between God and his chosen people. Constructed with exquisite cedar imported from Lebanon and lavishly adorned with gold, silver, and precious stones, the temple was more than an architectural marvel. It was a sacred space where heaven and earth converged. Over the span of 7 arduous years, countless skilled artisans, laborers, and visionaries poured their hearts into its construction, each stone and carving meticulously arranged to reflect the glory of the Almighty. Upon its completion, a miraculous event unfolded that left no doubt of its divine origin. As the temple doors opened to the public, the very presence of God descended like a radiant cloud, enveloping the entire sanctuary in a luminous glow that filled every corner with sacred light. 1 Kings 8:10-11. In that hallowed moment, the air seemed charged with divine energy, as if every heartbeat of Israel pulsed in unison with the rhythm of celestial praise. Standing before his people, Solomon, with humility and reverence, raised his hands in dedication. In a prayer that resonated deeply within the hearts of all who listened, he declared, "There is no God like you in heaven above or on earth below, who keeps his covenant of love with those who walk before him with all their heart." 1 Kings 8:23. This was not merely a moment of national celebration. It was a profound act of worship that unified the nation under a common bond of faith and gratitude. The temple became the central stage for the worship of God, where sacrifices were offered, prayers were lifted, and festivals celebrated. A sanctuary where every act of devotion reaffirmed the covenant between God and Israel. The glory of the temple transformed the entire nation. Israel reached a pinnacle of peace and prosperity rarely seen before. Its splendor became the envy of the surrounding nations, and its people found in the temple a tangible symbol of divine favor and protection. Merchants and dignitaries from far-flung lands traveled to witness its magnificence, and the temple quickly emerged as the spiritual and cultural heart of the kingdom. Yet amid the resounding triumph and resplendent beauty, subtle signs of vulnerability began to emerge. The very magnificence of the temple, built as a dwelling for the divine presence, carried within it the seeds of human frailty. As the nation celebrated its glory, the foundations of spiritual commitment were quietly being tested by the temptations of wealth, political alliances, and the allure of foreign customs. In its splendor, the temple symbolized the ideal union of heavenly wisdom and earthly governance, a union that Solomon had once sought to preserve through his humble request for an understanding heart. It was a living monument to the promise that true prosperity is measured not by the abundance of material riches, but by the depth of one's relationship with God. And while the temple ushered in an era of unparalleled unity and spiritual vigor, it also foreshadowed the challenges that lay ahead. Despite Solomon's early divine favor and unmatched wisdom, subtle signs of spiritual decay began to surface through small, seemingly harmless compromises. In his pursuit of political alliances, Solomon married numerous foreign princesses whose customs and deities conflicted with the worship of the God of Israel. While these unions initially served strategic purposes by ensuring peace, they gradually introduced idolatric practices into his court. Over time, this influence eroded his steadfast devotion. As scripture notes, as Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods. 1 Kings 11:4. The once pure worship he championed was replaced by the construction of altars to foreign gods, such as Ashtoreth, Chemosh, and Molech, distancing him further from true devotion. This gradual shift, driven by a desire for worldly security and political expediency, not only weakened his spiritual integrity, but also set the stage for his eventual downfall, a timeless reminder that even the wizziest can stray when small compromises accumulate. God had warned Solomon on more than one occasion, appearing to him directly, urging him to repent and return to righteousness. Yet, Solomon's heart remained stubborn. In response, God pronounced a final judgment. "Since you have not kept my covenant, I will tear the kingdom away from you." 1 Kings 11:11. Though God, in his mercy for David's sake, would not remove Solomon from the throne during his lifetime, the promise was made that after his death, his kingdom would be divided. Thus, the greatest kingdom Israel had ever known was set on a path toward fragmentation and destruction, all because its king had turned his back on God. In his final hours, Solomon sat alone in his opulent palace, surrounded by gold, draped in the finest robes, possessing wealth beyond measure. Yet he felt an unbearable emptiness. Memories of his youth flooded back, the days when God first spoke to him in a dream, the moments when he walked in righteousness, when he stood before the people praying for the temple's dedication. Now old age had set in, his heart was divided, and his kingdom was no longer at peace. In that poignant moment, the wizziest man in history uttered those chilling words, "Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless." Ecclesiastes 1:2. Solomon had achieved all worldly success, but in doing so, he had lost his soul. In the final chapter of his life, he left behind one resounding warning: "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." Ecclesiastes 12:13. Solomon's story transcends mere history. It is a timeless warning for us all. Wealth, wisdom, and success are worthless if we lose sight of God. The greatest danger is not a sudden rebellion, but the gradual, seemingly insignificant compromises that pull us away step by step. It is not how we begin, but how we finish that defines our legacy. Ask yourself, are you truly following God, or have small compromises started to steer you away from his path? Will you learn from Solomon's deep regret, or will you repeat his mistakes? May we fear God, keep his commandments, and remain faithful until the very end, for therein lies true wisdom. If you found this message powerful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Let this story be a mirror for our own lives. As we navigate the complexities of modern existence, let us not be seduced by fleeting gains and superficial success, but rather invest our hearts in the eternal and the divine. When faced with difficult choices, remember that even the smallest compromises can gradually lead us away from our true purpose. Reflect deeply on your own journey and ask, am I steadfast in my devotion to God? Have I allowed worldly distractions to dim the light of my spiritual journey? Embrace accountability and seek counsel from those who remain true to the path of righteousness. By staying rooted in faith, we not only honor the legacy of those who came before us, but also become beacons of hope and guidance for others. Let us choose a legacy that reflects eternal values, ensuring that our lives are measured not by what we accumulate, but by the depth of our relationship with the divine. Take a moment now, reflect deeply, and let the lessons of Solomon resonate within you. For in the end, the true measure of success lies not in the wealth we amass, but in the character we build and the divine love we embrace.